meet people, you see things, and like those people like stay, and then they also just like you said, like remind you of like what your true identity and like what your true goal is. And when I met Tyler, like he was the person that really reminded me of like, yep, like this is it. And then that's all I see. Like when I either look on his Snapchat story or like when I look on the Instagram,
Yeah.
it's just it's all this. And I'm like, dang, like I forgot about that. But like this is it's so motivating because it keeps me going. It keeps me in gear.
Welcome back to the Corner Talks podcast. I have my good friend here.
How's it going, man? Happy to be back.
No, it shouldn't be about anything. Like this is one life.
Yep, one life. Like fucking do it.
My guy.
Like she just got it. She totally understood it.
20 years old when I started just watching a lot of movies.
And it tells a story. I want to tell a story.
Talented photographer and content creator, Adrian Zachary. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
What's up? Doing good. Having a good day.
Yeah, straight from Nashville.
Yeah.
How is it over there? How's the weather?
Weather is actually it's really nice. I mean, it's about what 75, 80 degrees, sunny.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
crazy.
really can't complain.
Yeah, man. Being from Toronto, like we got this, fluctuating weather. Sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it's snowing. Like today, I'm not kidding. Like it was sunny, like there was like a beam of light, like summer weather, and it was snowing at the same time. So go figure.
Yeah, that's crazy. Nah, that's crazy, bro.
Bro,
I
it
couldn't.
was the trippiest thing. I was gonna walk my dog, and I'm like, let me check out of this.
Bipolar weather.
No joke, man. It's actually it's unreal. But nevertheless, thank you for coming on the podcast, man. We briefly met. This is again a common pattern that with my guests, I see them, I have an interaction with them, I like them, they have charisma. Hey, you want to come on the podcast? So this is gonna be this is gonna be interesting because I'm learning more about you through the podcast. Because again, I met you briefly on a phone call, thanks to again mutual friend and close friend, Tyler Seller, talented creative. So he introduced us both, right, for a potential guest that we can't disclose yet. So we kind of were introduced that way. How do you know Tyler, by the way? Like, what's your connection with him?
So I mean, I've known him for I guess like almost 2.5 months now. It just became like that. Like I was, trying to get myself out there, trying to do shows and contents and cover, bigger artists. And then I just did research and I came across a page where it was his page, Mass Home Media.
Right.
And like I saw the bio, I went to the website and I'm like, this is interesting. And then I was like, you know what? Why not? Fuck it. Like, let's just shoot the shot and, sent in just my email and then sent in my credentials and everything. And then not even 10 minutes, he just responds and he's like, yo, what's up? And I was like, oh, this is different because you, as a photographer, you really don't get a lot of, bigger media outlets just
100%.
respond to you as quick. And it took me by surprise. And
of course.
I just really I was shook, but I talked to him and then, he just explained everything to me. And then it just became more of a friendship than an actual business. And because my first intention, honestly, was just like, hey, if this guy can connect me to these shows, like, hey, that's cool. And then I honestly didn't have hope because of me just trying to scramble everywhere to find those shows, to, sometimes even just buying tickets just to get into these shows, but not really do it officially. And it was like last minute, he was just like, yep, we got you a media pass to the Ye concert. And that was crazy. Like my first that was honestly like my first just big jump, especially with the publication company. And I was just like, oh, wow, this is for real. And I was the only one there. And like after that, actually during that, we were just on the phone call. Cool guy. I thought he was older.
I thought he was a bit older. That's funny.
I was like, wow. And then
as a kid,
after that, we just connected and I showed him my work. He really liked it. He liked all my work. And then he's just like, Adrian, like your stuff is phenomenal. And it just made me feel really good when I posted my content and it just went viral. Like and like it's now just one of the main pin photos on his page, and that just like for something that was just my first time, like it really made a big impact, and like it made me grow closer to him as just like a friend. And ever since then, we just had talks, just had laughs, and he would help me get into these shows, and like it's just up and growing now. So.
Yeah, I'm really amazed how fast the friendship has grown. You know what I mean? Just in a mere 2 months of knowing him. But that's a testament to his character, right? Again, like you saw our conversation, how he called me up. Like that's the kind of relationship we have together. Like just always been hitting it off, and just see eye to eye on a lot of values, both in the creative field and outside, right? So that's why I was curious. I'm like, how does this guy? How did you like find him, or how did you guys connect? And I'm really proud of my boy, right? Like the fact that now he's developed this enterprise. People like yourself are actively seeing, right? Like you saw him out. And that's kind of like also like very reminiscent of this podcast, and the fact that when I first started it, it was me always DMing people, not that I don't, right? Like yourself,
right?
But there are a lot of creatives, I'll be honest, man, that will just DM me, like prominent creatives, and they'll be like, yo, I'd love to be on your podcast, like shoot me up anytime. So I thought that was a huge achievement. But yeah, like I was explaining, man, like many individuals of your caliber seem to find themselves on this platform to share their highly eventful lives and career defining experiences. And I'm truly moved to and inspired to consistently witness the amount of talent dedicated to the craft of content creation through videography and photography. Like it's, again, truly outstanding. Not to mention that you guys are fairly young, just like babies in my eyes, like kids. Not that I'm like substantially older than you guys. Like I'm like 28. So I just look at you.
It's not that old, bro.
Not that old,
you're
but
still young.
I know, yeah, I'm still young. But I guess what I'm saying is like I just remember when I was 20 and I was nowhere near like the amount of potential you guys are at. So I'm kind of like I don't know, I'm kind of inspired, right? Like I look at you guys in a way as like role models. Like that's awesome. The next generation on the come up, right? But different times, different circumstances too, right? I was in a different place in my life. But better late than never, right?
Right.
What matters is we're in it. Yeah, exactly,
Right.
buddy. Yeah. But no, man. So throughout our conversations, before the podcast and earlier on this platform, what comes to mind is trying to figure out how you first got involved with the industry. So I want to know, like, what were the first steps that made you become the photographer you are now?
So I really wasn't honestly into photography as much as I thought.
Interesting.
And it just became like where I was growing up at wasn't really like photography wasn't the ideal thing,
Okay.
like growing up projects, stuff like that. It's not, it's more just about trying to make it out, trying to grind, hustle, money, and then sports. And I turned to sports because I saw what everybody else was doing. Everybody was doing football, basketball, and then I was like, maybe I should do that. And I did, and I just grew love for tons of sports, and like I played a lot,
Nice.
elementary school, middle school, high school, and then um, just with that, it's just something that I looked forward to. I wanted to be D1, in football, and
Right.
then I wanted to, possibly be D1 in like freaking track or basketball, just anything I really did. Like sports was my top goal, and it started off with just honestly, my mom always asked me to like take photos of like the family, you know what I'm saying?
Got it.
And she was just like,
Yeah.
she would always just be like, this just one every time it's like, you have an eye. So it's like we want you to take these photos. And I'm like, why can't somebody else do it? And then,
Yeah.
it was kind of just a little hint that I guess at a young age just didn't realize.
Yeah.
But it always was extraordinary to me. And, I just had a thought for it. And what really impacted me was I'm gonna actually say my senior year when, I was still thinking about photography. I was like still just amazed by pictures that creators make. And I was like, it's cool, but didn't see myself getting into it.
Right.
Football season, we were ass that year,
Oh
and we were
wow.
just bad. And like I quit the team because I didn't see me going
Progressing.
to a place, right, going to a
Yeah.
place I wanted to go. And going to one is hard. Everybody has hoop dreams. Everybody has football dreams. And like it's not an easy thing. And it it took me like 2 weeks to just tell my coach that I quit. And I was just crying because that's something I grew up doing. And
Of
like
course, man.
I
Yeah.
thought that was my life.
That's your
And
first love, from what it
yeah,
sounds like, right?
basically
Yeah.
basically. And then yeah, I did track, and I've always been a person who I can work with a team, but I feel like a lot more progress when it comes to just like self progress. You know what I'm
I love
saying? And
that.
like,
Yeah.
you do teamwork in track, but it's also solely based upon you versus you.
Yeah.
And
Of course.
that's what I like the most because it's like I challenge myself, I improve myself. And, over time, you actually start to see those improvements. You have to see those gains that you get. And I basically signed up for a photography class, and I was
Nice.
just like, because I needed an elective, so I was like, I don't want to do culinary, I don't want to do art. And I was like,
Yeah.
photography, sure,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
digital art design,
Wood shop.
and yeah, and my high school teacher, shout out Mr. Burlingame,
Right.
he's a good guy.
Okay.
It kind of felt like a movie. Like you have that teacher who's just an asshole, or just like,
Oh,
just
really?
straight up on, yeah, just straight
Okay.
up on me. And like, he
Like you were
would
questioning,
just,
like, why are you out to get me, kind of thing. Like,
yes, like,
and
and
like
he
no
would
one
like,
else kind of sees it, but this guy's like
right,
has
right,
something for you.
exactly,
Yeah. I
exactly.
got you. I
He
got
would
you.
push me to do everything, anything. And then like, I would just be like, why do you treat me like this, but nobody else? And then
Right.
just no answers. And then like, it came a point where he's just like, I trust you enough to use my camera. So I
Wow.
took his Nikon D5
Yeah.
to it was for my birthday, and he just let me borrow it for like a couple days throughout the week. And
Okay.
he
Nice.
was just like, take pictures and show it to me. And then I did, and then I was fairly not good. And
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well,
just
you started, right? Like that was your thing.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
he was teaching me just manual controls and like not really auto controls, and then just the history behind photography and just behind, how lenses work, how the camera bodies work, and just megapixels, just everything. And,
Yeah.
you know, um, he told me about his business. I was like, whoa, you make a lot of money. Like he does like, wedding photography, product photography. He's basically done it all. He's done it for years.
I believe it. Yeah.
And um then I started to think of some kind of way I can make money while doing something that is fairly interesting and that, I started to grow a love for.
Hmm.
So it started with basically just doing my high school basketball team's games,
Oh,
taking
okay.
photos, taking videos. And like throughout that time, I was, borrowing his cameras. I was borrowing, the laptops from school. I didn't have like my own kind of gear or equipment. And, I just started profiting off, players or coaches. And then like I would make, posters. I would do like these little advertisements,
So you
post
would use
them,
these
send it to the
photography
players.
skills in your school, like for your school, like that's how you started out.
Right.
Nice.
Yes. And then most of my stuff was in the yearbook. And
Okay. Wow.
yeah, so I started working with
It's
the
a huge
yearbook.
step, right? From
And
someone that wasn't
yeah,
familiar with the camera and like,
right.
was kind of
And
thrusted into it by your teacher. Yeah.
I was very much a beginner.
Yeah.
And then closer to the end of the year, I got like a job position where the schools were paying students to like work during school, whether it's
Hmm.
like through advertising, whether it's through like it's mainly like digital art and designing.
Okay.
And there was a position for, photography advertisement. And
Wow. Interesting incentive. Yeah.
I yeah, and it was like 15 an hour, and
Hmm.
then you get like your schedule like cut off. So it's like you would, instead of getting school out of like 2, you would go to school out 12. And then you would spend that time there to, just work for them and everything. And it was new. And they were just interested about my story and just about my growth and like how I came from this to this, to the point, I was on the news and a meeting with like the entire school board speaking. And I
Wow.
was,
Like
it
your
was, it
local
was
news.
yeah, they wanted to
Wow.
use me as, the face of this work-based learning program for students, because of the launch. And they were like, you sound like a good prospect. Like you sound like you have a good story. And
Nice.
like, um, I was just honest. I told them that. And then everybody was just amazed, just like, wow, like that's crazy. I'm just like, I mean, I'm not really doing anything. It's just like that. And then before I graduated, uh, my manager for that work-based learning program gave me an opportunity, which he was like, um, they're for the Country Music Awards. So it's the CMA Festival here in
Right.
Nashville, which is basically like the Coachella of Nashville.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, she called me. I was coming from practice, and then she was like, so they're hiring student photographers, and they're paying them $600, $700 a day. And I was like, oh, okay. And then she was like, and they want you. And I was like, nice.
Wow.
All right. And
Based on what they saw,
then
like what you provided for your school? Is that what
right.
happened?
And
Like you got
then
out?
yeah,
Nice.
what I provided for my school and for that work-based learning program. And
Right.
then I didn't know what it was at all. And I was telling my teachers, my friends, they're like, are you kidding? Like that's like that's very big. And then I didn't realize until I got there, that was my first time getting a media pass, just credentials, like a shirt. I
Right.
still
Like
have this stuff
yeah.
hanging.
Yeah,
And then
sophisticated, yeah.
yeah, it was very official. And then I was the youngest one there, straight out of high school, ever. And then just seeing everybody with 3 camera bodies, 2 camera bodies. And then me, I was still using a Canon like T5 Rebel that was borrowed from my
Yo, that was
school.
my first
And
camera,
also,
bro.
yeah, and then like
That's
my
wild.
laptop too. So I
Yeah.
didn't have any gear for myself.
Right.
And I just used what I had and just made the most of it. And
Nice.
um this was like after I graduated, and my teacher gifted me an old DSLR camera,
Mm.
like 4 lenses, whole bag, everything. And then he was like, you deserve it, and I think you're gonna go far. It's probably not much, but it does take
Wow.
sharp pictures. And I used it. And then I was nervous because I was still learning the ways to be a photographer and how to work a camera.
Of
And
course. Yeah.
some of the pictures came up blurry, hazy, grainy, and it was bad. But then there was just most of those shots where I just got more and more comfortable, and I knew how to work the ISO. I knew how to get everything right. And then they turned out great. And those pictures now are on the official CMA website, their social medias,
Oh
and I
wow.
get paid through them, through like royalties, for
Yeah,
using
you were
my
telling me
stuff.
that actually. That's really what an
Yeah, and
accomplishment.
then
Yeah.
yeah, and like I actually haven't posted any of those photos. So I might do
Which
that
is
probably
wild.
like in yeah, it's been like a year, and like I might post them like next coming weeks. But yeah, that was just my first ever gig. And then when I realized that, I was like, I can really make something out of this.
Of
Like
course,
this
bro. Yeah.
is fun. This is interesting. It's like I like doing this, and I grew so much of a love for it. I was like, I want to go official. So it still started about, just going back to football games, basketball games, like girls' games, doing like proms, doing graduations. And then it hasn't even been actually a full year since that CMA Fest, which was my first official, just
That was your breakthrough
like
event. Was that what you would
basically,
describe
yeah,
it?
my
Yeah.
breakthrough event.
Yeah.
And just one thing came after another. And then, opportunities came, and then it, became just sometimes just sneaking into concerts or
Yeah.
just,
We got to do what you got to
stuff
do
like
to get
that.
that content. Yeah.
Right, right. And then one photo turned into hundreds and hundreds turned into thousands. And then
Interesting.
those thousands turned into like a portfolio. And, you know, it turned into people actually started thinking like I was official. And stuff happened so fast. Like, you know, working with Tyler and Mass Home Media. And then I'm also, you know, working with the supplement brand. I'm on 2 tours with the band, and then also just doing like gym content, all of this, and people ask me for appointments. And it's just like it came so fast. And it
Yep.
still is. Like it's nerve-wracking because
Yeah.
like I still need to get like my stuff together in some situations. But it was just more about experience to me than it was for just the money. And
I get it.
like with that experience, I grown more love to something than I've ever had before. And it just became like I want to do this for the rest of my life. Like I want to travel and I want to, you know, just do photography and just
Yeah. You were telling me that on our last
that
call, right?
happen.
Like you want to use
Right.
this, you know, newly discovered passion career to discover the world. You know, we were talking about that, about I've
Yeah.
also coming to my own as a professional in my career where it was fun and all in the pandemic. You know, I was editing from my room. You know, it wasn't really much to do, especially where I was living. There was 3 lockdowns in a year.
Right.
Now, as we're coming out of it, we're emerging. I'm realizing, you know, I rather be in the city. You know, I rather be working as like for clients that demand me to like shoot and edit, right? As opposed to just sending
Right.
files and edit and being in a dark room the
Exactly.
whole time, right? Lacking vitamin
Being
D.
creative.
Yeah, being
Yeah.
creative, man. Yeah, because I'm a
Exactly.
storytelling at heart, and a lot of people have told me with my energy, testament to this podcast, right? It's like I need to be out there. I need to communicate with individuals. I like meeting new people like yourself. So that's the only way we can do it, right? Is to kind of see a new direction we can take. But you covered a lot of areas, man. Thank you for providing that story because
Yeah, of
I was
course.
curious as not only you know what made you get into photography, but also who your heroes are, and your teacher from high school proved to be one, exceptional one
Yeah.
actually, the catalyst, I should say, and also
Right.
your breakthrough, right, for the CMAs. Like that's an insane accomplishment. For some reason, I forgot that you were telling me about the residuals aspect because even for me, that's like huge. Like that the
It
fact that
was
this
like
organization, right, is like paying you money still for your work, but it makes sense, right? If they're keeping it out, especially a big company like that, if they're keeping it advertised, they have to. But I don't know. Do you ever step back and say, "Holy shit!" Like I'm still getting paid for this?
no,
Yeah.
no, seriously, every time. Like even when it's just non-paid work, like when there'll be times I look on my Instagram and just look through my files
Okay.
and just see that I took pictures of Yee, and I'm like, I took that. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, there'll be times I step back and I'm like, I just admire the fact that I got to experience that and I actually did that. You know,
Of course. Yeah. Well deserved, man. You know, so just going back to now, the fact of like looking on your social media profile, like getting to know you, researching you, you know, for the podcast, just kind of like learning more about you.
yeah,
Before I begin about that, like a common venture I've noticed many creatives exploring is the establishment of their own production companies. And over the course of the pandemic, I, you know, believed it was time for me to cultivate a creative enterprise. So I made 94 Productions Incorporated, which is the podcast is a product, one of the many products of that enterprise, because I wanted to
right,
identify and endorse my own artistic expression. But since its inception, I've had the fortune of being responsible for directing, writing, and shooting several short films. I noticed from your Instagram profile that you've also initiated a similar enterprise called Infinite Visions, and I wanted to
yes.
know more about that. So, what was the inspiration to turn your artistic talent into a business?
So it just became where, you know, I would show like my friends and like, you know, my mom and everybody just my work. And then
Right.
they would see like, this is really good. Like you need to like start a business. This needs to like be official. And like I was like, yeah, probably I just need more experience. But like I said before, the experience was coming in so fast where I was like,
100%.
maybe I need to like make this official. So I came up with the name Infinite Visions.
Nice.
And that was just kind of it's still um it's still in progress right now.
Okay.
But it's been launched for over like I guess 6 7 months.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
probably like 8 months. But
Okay.
um that was just some that I really felt that needed to, be known that it's like I am a professional at what I do, and this is my work, and this is like my business, and I wanted to be known to the world that like I'm Infinite Visions. So
Yeah, no, that makes sense,
yeah,
man. Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I'm so happy like you pursued a creative enterprise, right? Because I've someone that started 94 Productions. That was my whole motto is I wanted to create this outlet, this enterprise that represented me, like this entity, as opposed to just being this freelancer Daniel Calderon running around. I wanted it to
right,
be legit, like as you were saying,
right,
official, right? Like Masso Media, you were corresponding with them, and you immediately liked the fact that they were a legitimate company that had this network and all these resources and connections.
right,
And that's what I aspired to cultivate for my own. So I'm saying that I find that really admirable and commendable that you did that for yourself, because you could have just been another like, oh, I'm a photographer, I go to events, I'm doing this
right,
part-time as a hobby, but you're taking it serious enough to say, hey, like, let me monetize this, right? Let me make this into a
right.
full-time career, which is what a lot
Yeah.
of creatives aspire to do. What projects from Infinite Visions have you already completed, or do you aspire to pursue or complete?
Um, Honestly, projects I never thought I would even do.
Okay,
I mean, I've done, my fair share of, just dibbling and dabbling in music videos, but then I've done um projects like, for the CMA Fest. That was kind of like my first ever project
got it.
that I got completed. And then um for projects in the future, I want to do more. I've grown a connection to concert photography because
Okay,
I'm very big on music, and I do all kinds of photography: landscape, portraits, sports, like wildlife, anything like I can get my hands on, because it's just the whole cycle of life and what life has to offer. It's like I want to capture that in like that moment. You know what
got
I'm
it.
saying? And
Yeah.
like um but projects that, I aspire to get done is, well, I mean, Rolling Loud festivals, and then just honestly, I want to have my work in like a gallery. I want to print
Hmm,
out my work.
interesting.
I want to frame it, and then I want to sell it. Like either if it's just to sell or give to the artist themselves or the person themselves for profit or nonprofit for recognition or connection, or just to literally just have my artwork shown and seen by everybody. And
Showcases to the
like,
world. Yeah.
right. And like I said too, it's not really just about like profit, because I'm more based on showing my creativity and the story behind the lens that I take, and just the photos I take too, because it's something that there's always a story behind everything.
Of
And I
course, yeah.
feel like, just some photographers here and there just take, photos just to take photos, and, it's basic, or there's no creativity to it. Whereas if like, you know, I I feel like my gift is to capture things in the moment rather than to stage stuff. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like where it's not natural, it's not really
Yeah.
true. And then when I capture that, I feel like those are like the greatest moments that I've seen. And then that person looks at, they're like, I didn't even notice that. Like I've done, DC the Dawn. And when I showed his like managers and like everybody who's connected with them the pictures, they were like, yo, I've never seen DC like smile like that in a picture. And like
Oh,
it's on my
nice.
Instagram.
Yeah, man.
And honestly, I feel like that was probably one of my best pictures of him. And like just to show the whole emotion and to show the like just the life out of people that, this is how they express themselves. And I just want to put that out like officially into the world where, everybody expresses themselves differently, and you can see it for your own eyes, and it's there. Like there's no change to it. And like something that's just captured and frozen in time that you will forever remember because of like what you see and how you feel about it.
Oh, 100%. And
Yeah.
that's what's going to set you apart from this saturated market with creatives, let's be honest, right? Like as much as it's a prosperous time, it's a glorious time for creatives to meet others like-minded and, expand their empires. The problem is that everybody in a way is a creative because there's no gatekeepers, right? So you kind of have to go
Right.
through, you have to kind of like distinguish who are the ones that are legit, who are the ones that are really in it for the right reasons. I don't know if you're relatively younger, right? So it's like I don't know if you've gone through those hardships or those encounters where it's like you realize like the underbelly of the industry, like there are some more cynical kind of
Yeah,
experiences. Oh, you have? Oh shit.
Yeah, I've experienced like somewhat of that, and I mean, even when it came to just even when it came to just as simple as like, okay, don't send your work until
Got
you
it.
get your profit. There's been multiple times where
Yeah.
I've sent it and out of excitement, I'm like, oh, this is my work. They're probably gonna see it, and then it's just like either turned down or just like, oh no, this isn't worth it. And I'm like, okay, or just the fact that it's like a lot of people want to just, I feel like, discredit the like time and patience it takes for like the things you produce. And
Of course.
they take that for granted. And they're just like, oh, this isn't worth the hours. This isn't worth the time and like the sweat and like the work that was put into it. And I've experienced, with like personal clients and like other bigger companies, like just just haters, to be honest. And then just like
Wow.
you said, just cynical, sinister, and it just, I don't know. I really like to kind of stay away from those people, but shout out to them because they made me learn today.
Yeah,
But
no, it's called the dark energy for a reason, right? Like that's what I was kind of
right,
alluding to is, you're always going to encounter people that either are with you or against you, right? Like that challenge you to become better or for worse.
right,
But at the same time, it's like it's very important that I like that you kind of want to showcase yourself, present yourself as a creative, as an artist that has a story behind them, right? Someone of
right,
substance, someone of value, where it's like I'm in this business for the right reasons. I'm in this business because it's genuine and close, it near and dear to my heart.
right,
For myself, right? Like filmmaking is not because the promise of you can make millions of dollars. Of course, like that's a perk. I'm not going to deny it. I'm not a communist or anything like that. I like the idea
right.
like you can really make a lot of wealth, right? And live
Exactly.
an exciting lavish life. But those are just perks to the byproducts of the actual dream, and that is to tell compelling stories, to inspire the next generation of filmmakers, to cement myself in cinema history. Like that to me is more
Right.
gratifying than money, right? The money will be used to tell those stories, right? Will be used to maybe indulge in certain projects or
Exactly.
certain other like collaborations, allow me to do certain things like this podcast. I don't know if I was telling you, like, want to obviously not keep it at this level in my house,
Right.
on a Zoom basis. I see it as a Joe Rogan's experience where you're a hub for creative filmmakers to come in and
Right.
shoot the shit and talk. We've been talking to Tyler about this a lot. And that comes with, again, having that overall vision. What's your why, right? They always say, like, how do you get there? So I think it's so important, and I think it's so noble of you to really have that backstory that you want to kind of showcase proudly to people, because a lot of people aren't coming from that place, man. I'll believe it or not. Like they're talented, yeah, they got a lot going for them, but at the end of the day, like they don't really have maybe a why, or they don't have a core reason, a core values to direct them to the right place.
Right.
Yeah, man. So getting back to core values and talking about your why, you were mentioning how at the beginning of the podcast, being associated with Tyler Seller, who manages Masshole Media, and they've proven to be a powerhouse entertainment company that supplies a vast number of creatives like yourself with exceptional opportunities. The rapidly growing enterprise operated by, again, Tyler Seller continues to impact the digital media space with its avid network of prolific clients and outstanding content. So a lot of a lot of talent showcased,
Yeah.
a lot of celebrities. How did you become associated with Masshole Media? I know you were mentioning like you reached out to them and you connected with them, but what were the lessons that you learned from working with the brand, and how did it benefit your own?
Lessons that I learned was just like, like you always just gotta shoot your shot. because you will never know. Like you would never
Bro, I
know
was just
until
talking
you
about
know.
this. I'm trying to get into this big ass festival for my short film
Yeah,
that I just directed, and I'm like, I'm just gonna send it to someone that I know could help me out. And if they don't like it, they don't like it. But they know that they got it, and now it's up to them. You know, like it's out in the universe.
right,
Yeah, but I got
right.
go ahead, man. Go ahead.
It's and then just like honestly manifesting because
Yeah,
the more you kind of just speak into existence, the more it like starts happening. And I feel like Tyler, in a sense, is a big manifester. Like
hundred
just
percent.
how just this whole entire company, like we as a company, just have grown in just almost like literally just over a year, a little bit, and just how it's gotten so much value now. It's gotten like so much just exposure and experience that's he spoke that into existence and he continues to when he texts me when he calls me he's like oh yeah for sure we're gonna get you with this and like
Yeah, always that
manifestation
enthusiasm. Yeah,
right manifestation enthusiasm doesn't come just by itself it also has work and like he is like a very hard worker and
yeah.
honestly I've never met anybody more enthusiastic like
Oh
he's
yeah, no,
just
this guy is like
knows
no
he
bad days with
knows
that guy.
exactly. And it's kind of comforting in a sense because as much as creatives and photographers feel the fact that their stuff will not get heard, it doesn't matter how it is because it's just so oversaturated with us and it's growing even more by the day. But like there's just that one thing that sets you apart from everybody else.
Yeah,
And that one thing can literally change your life forever. And Tyler saw that in me, and then he was just like, "You're different. I like it, and I want you to continue with us." And that's all I've been doing, and it's been a journey so far, and I feel like it's gonna be even more of a crazy ass journey in the future.
100%. It's only gonna get better, man. And that's the thing, right? It's just surrounding yourself with those people that are humble, that are talented, that kind of inspire you to become better, that elevate your craft.
Right.
That's something that's kind of a mindset I developed for myself. You know, it's kind of before I was surrounded by people that really discouraged me, didn't really like, think the same way I did, whether it was directly or indirectly. But the point
Yeah.
is that meeting people like yourself, like Tyler, a vast number of creatives in Toronto, by situating yourself around these people, you start to realize your own potential and the possibilities, and manifestation becomes even more apparent than it was before, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
if you're not to denounce your first love there, football, but let's be honest, if you're always surrounded by these football guys, like real jocks, right? They're not talking about music, or they're not talking about photography, they're not talking about what we're talking about here on this podcast. I really find it. I have a hard time believing like you'd probably be in the situation now, right? It's important to surround yourself with
Yeah.
people like Tyler, people that you've met along the way in your journey, that are
Yeah.
similar in your mindset, in your creativity, because that's the only way you're going to keep going. That's at least for me what's worked. It's like I used to work those
Right.
kinds of jobs, corporate, right, like data analytics and things like that, and people would say you could do your stuff on the side, your creative stuff, and I'm like, yeah, you're absolutely right, I could, but only for so long. Eventually you burn out, eventually you become discouraged, eventually you lose that spark, that
Yeah.
fire, because you got to be
Yeah.
around people again like yourself, like Tyler, that remind you of the business, that keep you relevant, that
Right.
keep you guessing, keep you going. So that's
Right.
what I got to say about that is, if you're creative, make sure to surround yourselves with creatives. Always be creative. Find a passion or a hobby, even a job full time that makes you creative, stimulates your mind constantly.
Right. And like it's always like I really relate with you to that because it's with me, I mean, this isn't just like my main job. Like I still like work a 9 to 5
That's what I'm saying. You
and
still
like
got to
do
work. I
this.
know, man.
Yeah.
I know.
And then like, but that is in the sense of supporting my own company and my like being an entrepreneur and supporting my own life by my own needs and it's there yes like you said there's times where it just gets discouraging like there's just been times where I haven't picked up my camera for like a month
I believe
just
it. Yeah.
depressed they're just
Yep.
like so low and it's just like this is never going to work out but then the more people one like when I took that first step and was like, I got to get out this pit
Yeah.
and I at least just got to do something.
Yeah.
I don't like some of the times there's just those things that just hit where it's like you meet people, you see things, and like those people like stay, and then they also just like you said, like remind you of like what your true identity and like what your true goal is. And when I met Tyler, like he was the person that really reminded me of like, yep, like this is it. And then that's all I see. Like when I either look on his Snapchat story or like when I look on the Instagram,
Yeah.
it's just it's all this. And I'm like, dang, like I forgot about that. But like this is it's so motivating because it keeps me going. It keeps me in gear. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Really commendable, like, the fact that you're continuing to pursue this career, and inspiring, at the very least, right? Like just to know that there's so many like-minded individuals. That's why I do this podcast, right? Bring them on
Right.
to show people that they don't have to be like famous and, worth a lot of money. They're everywhere, and you just got to find them.
Exactly.
So this platform, it allows me that ability to showcase that to the audience. And if there's someone that's listening in and thinking, hey, I want to pick up a camera one day, or I want to make my own feature film one day, this is the great place to start. Listen to up and comers, like actual artists that are in the grind, that are working every day, their experiences, um, and take from it that we're human. We're just like you.
Right.
We have our bad days. We have our days where we feel inspired or maybe motivated, but what keeps us, I guess, grounded, what keeps us working towards, um, achieving greater things is why we started, and everyone has a different
Right.
why, if I can improve that.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, man, thank you so much, Adrian, for coming on the podcast and sharing your journey and your experiences. I really appreciate it. Got a
Yeah.
lot of insight for you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Like, like I said before to you on the phone, like in my sense, it's always the wizard and not the wand, bro. Like
Yeah.
it's
I
always
love
it's
that.
always
Yeah.
the creative and not, what the materialistic stuff they have. And, just to anybody out there, like that's what one sets you apart from everybody else, knowing that you can do it and not just your camera. But like, you can make this happen. You can make it look like this. And like the sooner you start to feel like you have more control of the materialistic things that you need to have, like one, you'll be happier, and two, you will actually start seeing progress. So yeah,
100%. Yeah,
for
I love
sure.
that. I love that analogy. It's like the man behind, it's not the camera, it's the man behind the camera, right? It's what you do with that
Exactly.
camera that sets you apart. Love that, man.
Right.
Thank you so much for that insight. Thank you again, Adrian,
Sure.
for coming on the podcast, sharing your experiences, your wisdom. Thank you, everybody else, for listening, and we'll talk soon.